Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Find a Way podcast with Dusty. Hopefully, you're doing well on your journey. Let's talk about I Want to Run, part 2. So, hopefully, you got a chance to check out part 1. This is part 2 of the series of I Want to Run, just going over the basics of if you want to get started with your running journey and you want to get going in either starting back up again, or just looking for general tips on maximizing your running journey. I've spent the past few years not only losing weight, but maintaining, but running along the way and learning the different experiences of what it's like to run at 350 pounds, at 300, 250, 220. I've experienced those, and there's been quite a bit that I've learned. So I Want to Run part 2 is going to go over shoes specifically. Now, I'll start off by saying that there are 3 pairs of running shoes that you're going to need. And I think the common conception is, well, let me just go buy some running shoes, a single pair of running shoes, and go for it. When in reality, you need 3 pairs of running shoes. The first pair that you're going to need is something that you're going to be doing 80% of the time. 80% of the time, you should be doing easy, slower pace runs to build up your aerobic base. You essentially want to build the foundation, a strong enough foundation that your body can rely upon when you're running a longer distance. That's why when marathon training takes place, it usually is 3 to 4 months. Because of the distance, you're building a base, you're building a larger foundation in which a larger distance can stand upon. And that's why it's not recommended to do anything shorter than 90 days as far as marathon training and prep, simply because you don't have enough time to build a base that will ensure that you're going to last the length of getting to your goal of finishing the marathon. So, if you want to succeed, especially in your running journey, you're going to need 3 different pairs of running shoes. So the first one is an easy run shoe. This is a max cushion from what you commonly hear. So max cushions that I know of are typically your New Balance Fuel Cell, your Brooks Glycerins. They have some max cushion Asics, Gel Nimbus 25s. I'm trying to think of those really thick-soled, Hoka Bondi 8 is a great example. These are thick-soled max cushion shoes. They essentially want to ensure that you are experiencing a max cushion when you're on a lengthy run. So max cushion is going to be one in your wheelhouse. The second one is going to be in between. So a good example of an in between could be this is a race day shoe, or this is a longer shoe, or a shoe that takes a look. This is almost known as your threshold shoe. It's not a carbon plate. It's not there's a lot of shoes that have these carbon plates, fiber plates, energy cells in them. You want to avoid what you're typically going to race on or use on race day for something that is going to be more something you're going to be using quite a bit during the actual training. So a threshold shoe are typically what you find from like Sauconys, the Power Glides, which are pretty nice. If we're going into Brooks, you can go to Brooks Glycerin, which are nice. The Ghost is even a good shoe because you've got the Accelerates, the Brooks Accelerate, I believe it is. Those are more of the race day shoes without a plate, but you could even go with the Brooks Accelerates. Asics, you're probably looking at I'm trying to think of all these names of the shoes. So it's not like the Meta Sky Paris, which those are like more of the marathon shoes, but you're looking kind of a mid-range ASICS shoe. Doesn't necessarily have to be max cushion. Don't necessarily need a plate like a ASICS Magic Speed. Those have plates in them, so you don't want to use those as a threshold run. These are shoes that you're typically going to do your mid runs. So, say if you're training and you've got a run of 5 to 7 miles, and in those 5 to 7 miles, you're going to be doing a interval sets, some speed, some not, or you're going to be going at an elevated pace, maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 as far as your pace. There's little spouts of going a little bit faster. Those are an option. So Hoka, I'm trying to think of the name of it, but I think it's the Hoka. I should have names of shoes right in front of me. But there is the Hoka Bondi 8, which is a little bit more max cushion when you look at it. There's one a little bit mid, and then there's one that's more of a race day, which is the Cello 1. It's more of a race day shoe. So kind of the mid-range for the Hoka is what you're going to be for a threshold run. And then lastly, the race day or I wouldn't say race day. Yeah, race day fast shoes. So you don't want to wear what you're going to be wearing on race day all the time during training, but you're going to need some sort of speed shoe. You're going to need some sort of shoe that is going to be what you're going to rely upon to do a little bit faster of a run. So these are your ASICs that may be a little bit faster. I know the Magic Speeds are a good example, but those have a plate. So there are some of the ASICs that are a little bit faster that don't have plates. When I'm thinking about Brooks, the Brooks Launch are really awesome. Those have a little bit of a cushion, but it's really geared towards its millimeter height, towards propelling you forward. If you're looking at the Adidas, the Boston 12s are great. Those are speed shoes. And when you're looking for a shoe, this is really key. Making sure that you're looking up ahead of time what kind of shoes fall in each individual bucket, and then going to a running store and trying the shoes on. So the On Cloud Monsters, those would be more of a long run shoe. You've got the Cloud Monsters long run shoe. The Cloud Monsters, I believe, have a plate, so those may even be marathon shoes. But when you're looking up shoes, look up speed shoe, threshold shoe, max cushion shoe, and start seeing what the options look like. And then you definitely want to get your foot measured. I go to Fleet Feet. There's a good feet store. Get your foot measured on how you walk. Do you have a wide foot? Do you have a narrow foot? Do you, lean to one side, lean to the other? Once you get your shoe figured out and kind of get your sizing, then you can start looking at, okay, what's a speed shoe? What's a threshold shoe? So you're looking at all these different shoes, and you're getting a good understanding of, okay, this is what's in the wheelhouse of my speed shoe, of my threshold shoe. The reason why it's important to go with 3 shoes versus 1, and one of the solid ones I'll say before this is Brooks is always a good go-to. Saucony is a good go-to. New Balance is a good go-to. ASICs are a good go-to. Nike has some good ones in there, but they have a very narrow toe box. And so for a lot of us that typically don't have narrow feet, it's not going to be the best for your toes, not going to be the best for your feet. But again, you could do a try on and feel completely different. I've just noticed a loss of toenails when I wear Nikes, and I've heard that quite a bit from Nike wearers that wear it long distance versus somebody that has like a New Balance or more of a wider shoe. So you've got those 3. Now the reason for it is, whenever you're training, speed run, threshold, doing a long run, you are training your muscles. You are getting your legs prepared. And depending on the shoe that you use, will actually work different muscles depending on what shoe you're using. So you want to use different muscles during your run because you're better preparing yourself as an overall runner rather than just gearing yourself towards one shoe. And a lot of folks like to change their shoe when it comes to like race day, and all of a sudden you're not fully prepared, you're not fully trained, you're not fully in the best spot to be running, or you're not the most well-rounded simply because you haven't trained from a overall perspective. You've trained from a single shoe. So to be the better overall runner, you want to incorporate 3 separate shoes into your journey. And those are going to help keep you well-rounded as a runner. It's going to help you train specifically for what you're doing as far as a run. But also when it comes to race day, you're going to be better prepared because you've had the taste of different shoes. Now, your race day shoe, that's race day shoe. That's going to be typically either something you get at the very end of your training. Maybe it's exchanged for your speed shoe so you can break it in. One of the big rules about a marathon or a race is never try something new the day of race day. It's almost like it's another day, but now you're pushing to your full max effort. But as far as a race day shoe, that's typically going to replace your speed shoe towards the very end of training. And that's going to be something you can possibly add as a carbon plate, a fuel energy rod. These are specifically race day shoes. And look up race day shoes. Look up the brand that you feel more comfortable with, the brand that fits your foot the most, and put in ASICS race day shoes, New Balance race day shoes, and look at those different options. That is including a 4th shoe, but really it's a part of the 3, the speed, the threshold, and the max cushion long run. So that's going to be really important. Again, you want to incorporate 3 instead of 1, especially when you want to start running. As we continue, we're going to start getting into part 3, part 4, and the continued parts to go over energy and fuel during a run, what I typically use, what is recommended, how to test what's going to be best for you. Also going to go over what to wear, compression socks, shin splints, injuries. I'm going to go into specific episodes about the race day strategy, how to approach a half marathon versus a 5K, when you should feel certain things, and what your VO2 max has to do with everything, getting the right watch, all that good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed part 2, and we'll continue on with part 3 soon enough. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.